Justin Trudeau, he finally stepped down. I just want to give a clap to that.
Pussies literally are what like these beta males are that just allow society to go to shit without standing up and doing anything.
What has caused his demise?
And dicks already, they're like people will say Andrew Tate's a dick, Donald Trump's a dick. Sure. Why do you think they're dicks? Because they stand on business, because they talk it how it is, they say it straight how it is, and you may not like the way they said it.
Four-star general of the Navy. He said that he's predicting direct war with China.
Carbon dioxide is one of the most necessary things in our atmosphere.
These guys are yet again going with fear-mongering because they're pushing information on misinformed people.
And assholes are literally like Klaus Schwab, all these elites that are trying to shit on everybody, on dicks and pussies. They don't discriminate.
On the bright side, nowadays we have powerful people, famous people that are pushing back.
If your pronoun is I'm rich and I'm handsome, by all means have it, but don't expect me to follow your deluded idea of what you are.
China's just waiting, right? It's all a power game.
The pedophiles get caught and then there's no remorse, there's no accountability.
BRUG party stands for Britain Restoring Underlying Values.
Follow what you're gonna say. If you don't accomplish what you say by a certain time, you gotta step down.
I mean, they go to jail and then they meet other criminals, right? And then they kind of learn how to just do their job better.
So what are you guys? Are you guys dicks, pussy, or assholes?
I'm a big dick.
I'm an asshole. I just want to shit on everybody.
No one wants to be a dick, so if you're not a dick, you just end up being a pussy. Like that video said, it's either you're an asshole, a dick, or a pussy. If you're not going to be a dick, you're going to be a pussy, or you're going to turn into an asshole.
Just know that the end goal of everything is a new world order, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a new way of governing the world. That's the end goal for these people. Call me whatever you want. I don't give a fuck.
Welcome to Across the Board podcast, where every topic's in play and nothing's off the board. Episode number 3.
Yeah.
Today we're also going live, so thank you to the people who are tuning in. We're going to talk on a bunch of topics, like always. We're going to start off with Justin Trudeau. We're going to go into world on the brink of chaos. We're going to dive a little bit into different topics and different reasons why that might feel that way. Climate change. Andrew Tate running for Britain's Prime Minister, BRUG Party, and LA wildfires. So those are the main topics we're going to cover. And at the end, we're also going to just kick it and kind of wing it and just dive into different things and opinions on different topics and maybe clips that we have that we're going to pull out.
Yep.
So first topic, Justin Trudeau. He finally stepped down. I just want to give a clap to that. I'm personally very happy. I think the past 4 years, actually like 8-9 years of him being in power, I think he caused a lot of division, a lot of problems, and a lot of unsettlement across the board. And I think a lot of the people living in this country were very disappointed, came to a point where they are very disappointed, as the many polls are showing. There's still some support. I don't know who is supporting that, but there is still a little bit of support, but more than 50% are now in disagreement. So, that just tells you of how his leadership has been this far. So just to dive into what has caused his demise. So we're going to go into economy. I'm going to dive into safety, censorship, and division. Okay, so let's start with the main one. This is probably the dominant factor, and it's going to be economy. Okay, just to kind of give a general idea, in 2015, before he ran for prime minister, he said he'll balance the budget in 4 years' time. And I quote, he said, "It's in stone." That's what he said. And that he's going to lower the debt to GDP ratio. Those are his words. What has happened by now? Like, what's going on in Canada now? He has doubled the national debt. So he pretty much did the exact opposite. So all the prime ministers combined previous to him, he has doubled what they have done. It's a negative. That's not a good. Just because you double doesn't mean it's a pot. No, he doubled our national debt.
Double down.
And I'm gonna dive into why that is a bad thing, why that's a negative, and how that directly impacts us, the people of this country. Right? So the main thing is, and before in 2015, the debt to GDP ratio was 51%, around 51%. In 2024, was touching 75%. In 2015, Canada had the lowest GDP, lowest debt to GDP amongst G7 countries. So we're actually leading. That's a very, very good thing. I'm obviously going to elaborate on why that's a good thing. But just an idea, amongst G7 countries, pretty much top countries in the world, we're leading. Stephen Harper did a very good job amongst in his term while in power. So he did very good things for the people living in this country. As you guys may know, you guys have been living in Canada for a while. I can talk to my mom who's been here a while. She's always talking about good old times. You guys might feel that, right? We're older now. We're not in 2015 anymore. We're 2024, 25, right? So now we're like, who has their own house? How many people have their own house? How many people are struggling to get their own house, right? So let's dive into the national debt increase and what it means for people like us. So when the national debt increases, that debt needs to be paid back. Simple, right? So how does that debt get paid back? Higher taxes in the future to repay. Taxes in sales taxes, income taxes, and therefore people like us have less disposable income. So when after you do your taxes and you pay everything off, how much money is there left for you to do whatever you want with that money? Reduced government services and quality. So places like healthcare, places like education and infrastructure. You guys want to go to Toronto, you got to take the Gardiner, yeah? Mm-hmm. Try doing it during rush hour. It's going to take you an hour and a half to get to Toronto from Mississauga, a place where it should, a distance where it should only take you 30-minute max if you're driving 80 kilometers an hour. Right? So infrastructure. So these things are not getting funded directly because of the national debt that he's built up. Right? And these are things that we're going to have to pay. So I want everybody to also keep in mind when these things happen, and when, let's say, Pierre Poilievre, because he's the favorite to win right now, when he comes into power, he's going to have to be very strict to lower that to lower the debt. When that happens, services and public services are going to get like a strain. So that means a lot of them are not going to get funded directly because of the actions that Trudeau did in his power. So at first, in the first couple of years, people are going to be like, oh, and people are right. Oh, what can he do in this short amount of time? Right? And that's true. In the first 2 years, he's probably going to have to just work on just literally bringing back some of the common sense before Justin Trudeau was doing what he was doing. Moving on. Higher interest rates, right? You guys want to borrow money to get a house. So mortgage rates, right? You're going to be paying more on that. Car loans, you're going to be paying more on that. Credit card borrowing interest is going to go higher. And these are certain things, some of the things that are directly impacting you because of the debt that that he doubled. Economic instability. So investor confidence, whether it's foreign or domestic. So not much investment flowing into the country. So what does that mean? Less job opportunities, wages being stagnant. And ultimately, when money stops circulating, it could literally end up in a recession. And even worse, a depression if it's not caught early. Right? Mm-hmm. Reduced sovereignty. So this is quite big. And when we're talking about Canada having an edge with other countries and why somebody like Donald Trump, for example, can say whatever he wants about Canada, right? So reduce sovereignty. So when you rely so much on foreign borrowing, right, it limits a country's policy options when they sit at the table to negotiate. So when you borrow money, your country is changed. So when you plan to talk to other prime ministers or presidents on a better deal for your own country, you actually are very limited on what you can say and what you can deal with, because you got to pay them back. So before you can say anything, you got to pay that money back.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the economy side. Do you guys want to touch up on anything regarding that and how you guys may feel?
Well, let me say this. Yesterday we were doing some street interviews, and one of the things I remember, I asked this lady, right? She was walking by. I asked her a couple questions. One thing they mentioned when I said about Trudeau, one of the ladies said he was forced out. And I think she made a valid point. She said, I think he was forced out. And then I asked her, why do you think he was forced out? She said, because Donald Trump became the president. So then I said, okay, so do you think if Kamala became the president instead of Donald Trump, would he still be in office? And she's like, yes, 100%. And
Good point.
and it's a good point. Like, it's weird that it happened around the same time. And wasn't it the same day that he got inaugurated and then he left office? I'm pretty sure.
Like a week later, few weeks later.
It was like close, right? And
Yeah, as soon as he started,
that was the pressure that he had. Like, he's like, oh shit, like we can't get away with stuff anymore. Kind of like also like that thing where like there's like a whole thread of like Obama switching sides, or like Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook switching sides. Like he was like part of like the Biden administration with all that, but now that they see that it's inevitable that Trump is in power and that he's gonna be keeping the power, it's kind of like they're like, okay, we gotta get on a side. We can't just be against them anymore. And yeah.
Guys, no matter how you put it, the states is always going to be talking, and as soon as they make a move, everybody falls in line. So I hate when people say, "Oh, whatever happens in the like." I'm talking to people. I love talking about politics. So when I jump into conversations with people and I start talking about American politics, living in Canada, and they're like, "I don't care about American politics. It has nothing to do with us." I'm like, "Bullshit! What are you talking about? Anything that they do is sets like a
Precedent.
yeah, for everybody else to follow. So anything that happens there, everybody else falls in line. As soon as Donald Trump started coming in and everybody knew he won, and he actually and then won, and he started chirping, it's like everybody started doing the total opposite. Every country is starting to reset and rethink about how they're going to be moving forward. So it's very important to understand when a country like the U.S. and maybe in the other side of the world, let's say a country like China starts to make different arrangements within their government and their economy. It's like every country around that area is now going to have to fall in line with their belief, not their beliefs, but their way of doing things.
Yeah.
Right?
Here, let
Miggy, do you want to touch up? Sorry, go ahead.
Hold on, let me just bring up one more thing. So the other thing, we interviewed these kids, 17, 16, and they were talking about how they can feel the Trudeau effect of to the point where like they're giving up on houses. They're giving up on owning a house. They literally said
opportunity.
They literally said like we the way that things have been, the way the market is, the way like life is going with the Trudeau government and all that. We've given up on houses. Mind you, these kids are 17. They're not even they're about to finish high school, and that's out of their head.
But I love the fact that while we're talking,
years ago, 30 years ago,
you gotta remember,
at the age of 20, you're already married. You're already owning a house. You're moving with your life. Now people are looking like still 30, pushing 35 without any of that stuff because of the way things are going. Like, it's crazy.
And hold on, just to touch up on that point before you guys continue on that topic. Those kids were pretty much what he was talking on was basically on what his feeling is in the household. So pretty much how his parents are feeling regarding everything in the scenario and the environment, and he's understanding and taking in what kind of problems he's about to occur. And I gave him major props on the fact that he was able to elaborate so deep on a topic like that, because it's very important for these youngins that are coming up to get informed about things like this. So when they do come to an age of being able to vote the way they want to vote and make the change that they want to make into this world, it's important that especially the people who are informed to make these decisions. and not just people who are just emotionally affected and then make decisions just based on emotions. But let's bring logic back, information back, and then make not only a truthful decision but an informed decision. Julian, you wanted to touch up on something?
Well, I wanted to speak upon when you were speaking about how Pierre is going to come in, and something I wanted to speak about is that, you know, people might not see the instantaneous change that they're going to see, or that they might want if once he gets elected. And what will happen, I think, is it's going to be a super majority in the beginning, but over those 4 years, right? People are going to be expecting instantaneous change, not knowing that they have to, like, you know, go through legislation and take out some of the laws that were put into legislation, right? And that some of that votership's going to trickle down back to the Liberals and to the NDP. You can see it now with Justin Trudeau stepping out. Like, their numbers have risen just a little bit, but it's also now trickling down to the NDP, right? So...
And that also comes into what kind of government they will get elected, right? So is it going to be a minority government or is it going to be a majority government? And that will play a major factor on how fast things can change. If there's a huge voting toward the Conservatives, they could potentially win a majority and things will fly in much quicker. Change could happen much faster. But we also, like we always agreed on, as much as we like the idea of that, we also always got to be centered and understand that, look, at the end of the day, they are politicians. They do make decisions. There is people, you know, helping them out in the decisions that they make. And so we're always going to have to stay in the middle and understand, okay, are these decisions good? Just because they look like the better option right now doesn't mean we take everything for, you know, what I'm saying is take everything with a grain of salt. Yeah. Understand that these are people in power, and at the end of the day, power can potentially corrupt. Not saying that it will, but it could happen, and things can go left, right? Yeah. Or right, yeah. Extremely right or extremely left. So let's be in the middle. I do still would prefer a majority government, just because we've gone left so far that at this point the pendulum has to switch and just just bring it back to like logic. Let's have, you know, normality again. Let's make normal again. You know. Anything else anybody want to say?
Well, that was basically what I was going to say. Take everything with a grain of salt. My main issue is how people just, you know, follow the narratives that they're pushing on mainstream media. The media likes to focus on Donald Trump's like attitude and arrogance, right? When Donald Trump makes statements about Canada, and it really turns them off. But they need to understand that, like, change needs to be made. And without Trump making these sort of claims, without Trump using his personality to his advantage, right, moves aren't going to happen. Like, if he just plays the nice guy, if he just tries to please everybody like most politicians do, then shit's just going to go on as usual. So we need a guy like that to kind of change the narrative, to kind of force people to have these discussions, right? Just like, okay, would it benefit Canadians to be the 51st state? Maybe it's, you know, a stupid idea to actually do, but the fact that we're talking about how Canada could be different in those terms is very important, because if not, we're just going to stay on this same liberal path right now. Mm-hmm. And like Julian said, if we switch over to the conservative side with Pierre, it's going to take time, and he's going to get attacked like the same way. They're going to find negatives on him, and if we just focus on the negatives, which you could find on anybody, including yourselves, then you're just going to be blinded. You're just going to act like everybody else, and then you're just going to be emotional. So, you know, just be patient, focus on the decisions that are happening, and you got to be a little faithful, because without faith, you're just going to have a pessimistic mindset, and you're not going to move in any direction.
Right. Perfectly said.
Now, with Justin Trudeau, I don't know if you want to add anything, but I do have a clip that we could show. But maybe you want to keep going first, and then we could show that clip afterwards.
The clips, yeah. Can we do the clips at the end, like like after I run down the 4 reasons?
Yeah.
So exactly. We just finished the reason number 1, which I thought it was probably the most dominant factor to why he fell and why people feel a certain way, and that was the economy, right? So we just finished that. Next one is safety in the country, right? So just to pull up one of the stats between at the end of 2015. Between 2015 and 2023, the VCSI, which stands for Violent Crime security index, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, violent crimes severity index. So pretty much the worth of crimes that you can possibly do rose by approximately 39%. That comes in homicides, that comes in armed robberies, etc. by 39%. And this has to do to a few policies, one of them being bill reform, and which was for Bill C-75, which made it the release first approach, pretty much making it easier for offenders to post bail and be released back onto the streets. That's why nowadays you're seeing these criminals get caught literally killing people, and they were post bailed. That's insane. That's one of the reasons, instead of keeping these guys locked in, okay, have some months, have a year to think about what you've done, and then put them back into society. No, they came with the idea, okay, no, let's give them another chance. These guys are already hot in their head. They had no time to cool down, probably still off the perks that they just took in. It's still running in their blood. They're still emotionally manipulated. Go back into the streets, get involved again, and now you just killed somebody.
It's stupid.
Crazy.
Bro.
And then they're quick to put that lady in jail, right? That's just speaking her mind or just exposing the truth.
Bro, not even
Right,
that.
right.
You know what's retarded? The leniency towards sexual conduct type of activity, like sexual assault,
Right.
or like even in rape. You know what I'm saying? They're able
Yeah.
to get off with sentences that are within like 5 to 10 year periods. But then someone who defends themselves from someone breaking into their house and they have to kill someone, they get life sentences. It's like, wait,
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
you how do you determine a life sentence from like a 5 to 10? Personally, I think like someone who's raped or done something like that, sexual assault, like it needs to be towards life sentence, if not looking towards being, like the death penalty. To be honest, if it's a reoccurring type of case.
Right, right. And those things, like as an idea, like somebody before killing somebody, thinking and knowing in their head that they could potentially be, wiped off as well for killing somebody by a legal death penalty, that will stop people from doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
But because now there is no consequence and they're actually going to be released the next day, who's going to care? These robbers that are robbing these jewelry stores, they're going to be out the next day robbing the next. So they robbed Mississauga. They're going to bail the next day, and they're now going to move on to Oakville because they already hit the jackpot, and they're going to hit another jackpot.
Or with the car
Not only
thefts.
that, but-
The car thefts are crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they go to jail and then they meet other criminals, right? And then they kind of learn how to just do their job better at the end of the day, or they make new connections.
They do a class in
So-
jail.
Yeah, it's like they're going to university and then they're coming out and now they got a degree in how to do their crime better.
How to get away
If they
with murder.
realize.
They go in real quick.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, bro, how'd you get away with it?" Nah.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah.
jail. You'll find out.
Another reason that goes under safety was he came up with stricter gun control. Gun control made upon the law-abiding citizens. So guys who are not having no intentions of doing nothing crazy, their mind is straight. He decided to take guns away from those guys who are using it for sports or hunting, etc. But then he also didn't fund the CBSA. So now, because they're lacking, people on the ground checking and doing having the funds that they need to do their job correctly, guns are getting smuggled in. People are smuggling in. Criminals are smuggling from down south, walking across America, and then coming into Canada, making our streets unsafe. But then you're going to cut the guns from law-abiding citizens, and then you're going to also make a release first approach, and now you just got a mosh up in the streets. And then people like us at the bottom, we can't even walk amongst other people, and we always got to walk, look over our shoulders. Another reason, drug overdose. Between 2015 to 2022, there was a 150% increase in opioid-related deaths. For just somebody to understand, In 2015, we had around 3,000 deaths related to opioid. In 2023, we had 8,000.
Wow.
Around 8,000. Insane. So, anybody want to touch up anything on the safety?
You mentioned the gun thing. I remember Miggy mentioned the gun thing on the first podcast. How we were talking about how it's part of, you know, it's a way for us to be able to protect ourselves from the government if it ever came to you know, a time where we disagree or agree. And the whole reason I believe they're taking, you know, our right to bear arms is just for that, you know, especially with the document we covered about the DOC. You know, giving the right to the military to come and interject whenever there's protests and stuff like that. It's dangerous because it gives power to the military, to the government to legally kill people, and we don't have nothing to defend ourselves because we're not allowed to.
No chance.
No chance.
No
We got no
chance.
chance. Yeah. Even if we, you know, the thing they always are scared of is we got numbers. But
yeah,
a lot of the times, what are the numbers going to do against high technology, you know, weapons, you know, all the stuff they have?
And if you look in the history, it's like every tyrannical government that came into place that caused chaos, they always started off by gun grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they go in. So let's move on to censorship. One of the bills was C10, which aimed to regulate online content and social media platforms, giving power to CRTC, which stands for Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunication Commission, the authority to regulate content across internet, specifically social media platforms, imposing restrictions on free speech. This is one thing I want to say, and it could be very quick, and you guys will also have a thing to say on it. At the end of the day, free speech means you could say whatever you want. I don't care. You cannot be like unless you're inciting terrorist attacks or violent crimes against people or somebody to harm somebody, you should be able to say whatever you want. I don't care if it's emotionally disturbs you. I don't care what it means to you. You should be able to say it. And anybody who has intellect, which I'm hoping some people, you know, all of us would have, you can break down these speeches that are coming towards you and are emotionally inflicting and just take it with a grain of salt. Everybody should be able to do that. We shouldn't regulate free speech just because people are getting emotional about things. Because now it's like when you give a power like that, the government or any authority can be like, okay, I don't want you talking about this. I don't want you talking about that. And there's no like details into what that speech could mean. It's so broad that anything that you can be speaking toward the government or things that you don't agree with, which can actually bring conversations to do a positive thing in the society, it can now be shut down just because a power like that has been granted.
Bro, that's the dangers of cancel society. And there's like a video recently where Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, and he's sitting down with Joe Rogan explaining what he had to do because the Biden administration was forcing him to censor stuff about a bunch of stuff, right?
Exactly.
It's like
force him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Force him because I you know what I'm saying. But yeah.
But recently, the Canada Exposed government on Instagram, who got raided by the RCMP just because they were speaking on the immigration situation in Canada. Once again, people can have a different opinion. You should not get raided for speaking on something that you think or believe. If there is something wrong that you're saying, the market will tell you and will keep you accountable. And if you're saying something correct, that means the market will also agree with you. And that's where we should be. But putting all these bills in place where it limits that is detrimental to us, the people, because it takes less power away from us, gives them more power to the very small percent, which can then, as time goes, can become corrupted, and then even worse, become tyrannical. Last point. Oh, Julian, do you want to add anything on this one?
I'm okay. I just wanted to say, sorry, just the CRTC is very powerful commission. They can veto a lot of things. They've gone through it with Bell over the years, and they're very strong commission. They can veto certain business deals too. Remember Bell with its merger? They canceled that because they said they would have a larger market share. So they're very strong commission. Very strong.
Right. And the last point on this Trudeau topic is the division it caused amongst people, from cultural division between people because of the policies that he brought in with immigration. Hopefully we don't get shut down, because there was no plan put in place. And we talked about this last episode. There was no plan to control this situation. The infrastructure to be able to get through traffic. Now we have thousands more people coming in, adding thousands more cars to get to Toronto from Mississauga. For example, there is no plan put in place to control the situation. Another one, between division. And look, and I want to make this clear. I have nothing against LGBT or any of these people. I don't care about what people do in their beds. That's their business. I don't care who you love. Find love. Do what you gotta do. I support these things. Everybody should find love and do whatever they gotta do. It's not my business. But when you tell the public, the majority of people, that they cannot call a mom, and say, what was the term? A child-given person? How does that make any sense? If you, what's that word called? If you transgender, what is it?
Transition.
If you're transgender and all of a sudden you're given birth, call that person a child-given person. But do not tell a mother who's a female to not be called a mom. We're not going to change the language that's gotten us this far, that's been known since the beginning of mankind. We're going backwards. If we progress this far, why are we going backwards?
Right. In my opinion, that's ridiculous. In my opinion, that's ridiculous. That's taking the if anything, it's an attack on womanhood. It's taking away the one thing that, like, not the one thing, but the biggest thing that differentiates a man from a woman is the ability to give birth, to bring a child to term, you know? And just simply being like,
it's offensive.
Oh, like anybody can do it. It's like, yeah, man can give birth. It's like, no, man cannot give birth. Like, you don't get it confused. You can live in your own idea of what you think it is, but don't expect the rest of the world to conform to what you want. Same thing with the pronouns. Like, you're welcome to have whatever pronoun you think. Like, if your pronoun is I'm rich and I'm handsome, by all means have it, but don't expect me to say that you're rich and you're handsome. Don't expect me to follow your deluded idea of sense of what you are, of reality. Stop that.
Right.
That.
And the problem with this, and this goes on the division, because us, majority of people who may or disagree or agree, whatever, and have an idea of what way of life it is, and being influenced, forced to think a certain way, where we understand that that's a wrong way of thinking, but then also being punished for not believing in it on what we think the facts is, that's where it becomes a problem. So that's another reason why division is amongst all-time high in here, in this country.
There's an example going on in a town in, I forget, I'll pull it up somewhere over here. I'll put it beside here, but there's a town in I think Ontario that is being sued because they refuse to abide by the LGBTQ laws of what they want to indoctrinate the kids with, the city with, the citizens with. The mayor was charged because they didn't want to conform to what the government is telling them that they need to do. And that is
insanity. That's control.
No?
That is stupid. That is insanity.
But these are the same people that, let's just say Christianity, or let's just say any religion were to come and were to be like, yo, guys, we need to have all Catholic schools, all Christian schools, they would be making that same argument. And they would be saying, yo, they're crazy because they're trying to indoctrinate, blah, blah, blah. And then they come with their own shit. It's like, bro, you're just being a hypocrite.
It's like what they did to the natives when they got here. You know, they made them forget their religions and conform to their religion. And it's like, come on, brother. We're not in those times anymore. You know, I think we moved past that. But I guess they're trying to bring it back. I guess that's what the New World Order is about. Bring back the old fuckers.
Go backwards.
Yeah. Are we good on that topic? Can we move to number 2?
Do you guys want to watch that video maybe he was talking about?
Oh, right. Yeah. Play that video.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly.
Trudeau, what's a woman, bro? What's a woman? What's a woman? What's a woman? You don't know what a woman is. You named you said a guy was a woman who thinks he's a woman. You said he was the biggest. Nah, bro. This clown is a who listened to this guy?
You would think that somebody is reading over his fucking talking points.
Oh, they
You know
are.
what
That's
I'm
the
saying?
crazy thing.
Like
Bro, when he's
somebody.
talking, let's get it straight. When he's talking about we're supposed to be moving through progress and moving through like a way of going, I think it's exactly what you were talking about yesterday, Joseph. When you're talking about the agendas that these guys have in place, I literally don't think he's talking to the people. I think he's talking directly to the clubs that he's part of that are supposed to have a way of moving. And they're like, well, we're supposed to make a progress and doing this, but they fell short, so they elected Trump.
Mm.
Like Julian said, there's people that go over these notes that they're like, yo, this is exactly what you should say. Like this is the right thing to say, you know?
He's gonna hit the hammer on the head of the nail, man. He's gonna grasp the fucking audience.
All right, so let's move, guys. Let's move on to, and I think that was a very important thing that we went over. I know we stayed a little extra time on it, but we live in Canada. A lot of the people watching are going to be, Canadians, and it's important to understand based on facts of why you feel that way. Sometimes, you might think, oh, it's being stigmatized and all that because of propaganda, this and that, and the way you're moving is because of just natural causes. No, because of the people put in power and elected officials is the reason why your life feels like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Period. These guys have a direct impact on how your day-to-day is going, right? So
Yep.
I know we spent more time, but let's move on. We're going to go on topic number 2. And this is more of how people feel. The way I see it is like the world feels like it's on the brink of chaos, right? There's war going on in Ukraine and Russia, right? Ballistic missiles were used recently, which can literally set off a domino effect literally across the world, right? And it's huge because this is all happening once again before Trump goes into power. It's like these guys are trying to pull the switch before he gets elected. So that way it's too late. And it's very scary. Second one is the Israel and Middle East, right? The Middle East is quite literally on fire. Multiple wars on multiple fronts. Israel and, the region. The third one is China and Taiwan. China's one of the people just chilling in the background, right? They're the second or third, you can argue that, highest power in the world. And they're the quietest. Why are they the quietest? Well, the West is depleting their army and force and sending funding and depleting their dollars by economic means. Canada has only a week's supply of its army defense. And I think that was an article put up. We don't have it. I don't have it. I didn't pull it up, but I remember reading. Yeah, I remember reading about the fact that Canada's army forces has 2 weeks supply or whatever. So China is just chilling back, looking at the West being taken out from within. And if a war happens with Russia, China's going to be the last one to join in while everybody's weak and take over that spot. That's the way I see it. And all these assassination attempts and all these multiple factors coming into play, it goes back to what that 4-star general of the Navy said not long ago. And this is a fact. 4-star general of the Navy. The only thing I might be mistaken is whether it was Navy or not, but I know it's a 4-star general. And he said that he's predicting a direct war with China. If that's the case, we are quite literally on the correct timeline that he was predicting. What do you guys think about that?
War with China? I don't know, man. I think all these places want to avoid wars. Because they realize the power that we have. Like they realize nuclear war would not be good for anybody. So I think,
and it's not just China that I'm asking. Sorry, so let me ask you. It's not about just only China. It's just their whole feeling of where the world is from all the protests happening in the world. from all the like unsettlement from people, regular people amongst communities. And this is directly impacted because of these things happening around the world. The division between us, forgetting that we're all human and we're just pawns, while these guys are just pulling strings.
Yeah.
Mickey.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, are they actually going to try to go to war? Like Joseph said, if that escalates to a point where, we're talking about nuclear weapons, which it could very easily, then it's really beneficial to nobody. So my intuition says that they're just using this as like fear-mongering tactics, to keep people worried, to keep people distracted. And it makes more sense to me that they're saying all this while behind the scenes just trying to do their own globalist agenda. I feel we're more headed towards what the Economic Forum deems as what's going to happen to 2030, where we're talking about smart cities, and that kind of relates to one of the topics we're going to talk about later, so that they can gain more control and so that they can pretty much tell us what to do. But how do they get there with us complying? I feel like by distracting us, by keeping us worried, you know. It still makes a good point, right? Like China is increasing in power. They came from, almost having no power. They came from famine to now being one of the superpowers of the world. So it is
Their
important
growth
to
is
talk
one of
about.
the fastest in history. Yeah, that's
Yeah, for
super
sure.
correct. Yeah.
For sure. And it's in their culture. It almost seems like it's in their culture to be disciplined, to be focused, almost the opposite of where our culture goes in Western society, where we're actually taught to be the opposite. We're taught to be distracted, to be like if anything, focus on entertainment. But we can't even focus on that. Like now they have TikTok videos where you need like a Minecraft fucking screen at the bottom, while they have someone talking at the top, just for you to not scroll to the next fucking video, right?
Yeah.
So without people's ability to focus and to really tune in certain subjects or what's really important, they don't know what's important, and they just disregard it, stick to their entertainment while the powers in play do whatever they want, right?
Misinformed.
Yeah, and they keep them misinformed. That's yeah, it's all
Right.
about that.
Bro, the other
Julian,
thing.
you want to touch it?
1 second. The
Yeah,
other
I was
thing.
gonna.
All right,
Sorry,
go,
Joe,
go.
go ahead.
No, you can go. You can go.
No,
No, Joseph, finish off, then Julian, go.
I was just gonna
So
say
Joseph, go.
it's definitely like a perspective thing, right? Like if you ask the majority of people, what do you think on war? Most people are gonna say it's a negative thing, right? And that's because we are the ones that are directly affected by it. But if you ask a lot of these companies, a lot of these people in power, it's not a negative, it's a positive. It's a time to make money. That's all they see in their head. It's a time. It's a time to make money for resources, food, ammunitions, weapons, all this stuff. Donations from people like they did with the Ukraine war, where we donated billions and billions and billions. Not all that money went towards the war purpose. It went to the pockets of the politicians, and it's
Yeah, and
also an agenda for them to be able to do plans that they weren't able to do before, like like making destroying a whole city to make a blank page so then they can redevelop it the way they want it to redevelop, right? A lot of these places that are being attacked are centers that they want to remake it, make the infrastructure different than it was before, remodel it in a way that they can control it even more. How do you do that with the buildings still up? How do you do that with people still living there? You can't. So what do? You start up a war. You bomb everything. You make it a clean slate so you can remodel it to the way you want it to be. So
And if it's not war, you make it seem like climate change,
it's all the
or you start
war,
a fire.
climate change. You start a fire,
That's what I'm
burn the
saying.
city down entirely. Like there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Right, Julian, what were you gonna say?
well, I was just gonna say, talking about China and U.S. China's just waiting, right? It's all a power game, installing different treaties with different countries or building stuff like,
Bricks.
bricks. But I was even more like something that just I recently learned about was that like the United States helped build the Panama Canal and finished its construction in 1914, right? Like why else would they help build the canal if they're not looking for something back? And I was reading that if there was ever war to go down there, they have the sole right through the treaty to install their military there if they want to, if it's going to shut down the canal, right? And the canal is like a large port where they can get the goods in and out by boat, right? By freight. So I think that's, both of them are playing. They're both rolling the dice, both playing. One's in Ukraine. Think about all the minerals and different resources that the country has that was formerly Russian territory, right? Like, everything's in motion, everything's going, and everybody's got a foot in the game.
I actually got a clip about that with the Russia, and then one of the main politicians talking about what's going on, like with the war in Ukraine, and he's talking about how he can't let Russia win and let China benefit off of the resources in Ukraine, because it's one of the biggest lands of resources in Europe. It's crazy. By the way, Panama used to be part of Colombia. China. Because China and Russia belong. They have a treaty like right now. Like they got the BRICS. They got a lot of alliances. So if Russia
then that all came out of these powers, and all this has happened over the powers of one. It started with the U.S. electing Biden, and it all went across the east. Across the world, where it's like so many countries in the West elected left-leaning governments, and now the pendulum is switching. Everybody's is starting to vote for a conservative, like a right-leaning government, like conservatives, like in Germany, where they have there's a bunch of protests calling it far-right government just because they want immigration to stop. Like it's crazy how they manipulate words to fit their agenda and to cause chaos and to cause protests and to cause unsettlement and fear and so on. Anyways, these are all go under why it may feel like the world is literally tearing apart, but this is a message to everybody, including ourselves. Focus on yourself. Focus on building yourself. Focus on building your family. Focus on building your community, informing people so people make decent, smart decisions based on truth and logic rather than emotion, because emotion will lead you astray, but facts are facts. So let's go on to topic number 3, which is climate change. Miggy, take over.
Well, let's just start with we're basically talking about how climate change has always been a topic in history, especially in the last 50, 60 years. And there's always something happening. There's always some sort of end of world discussion, something that they deem that we need to be fixing right away through our pockets. They increase our taxes, and regardless of if their predictions turn out to be true or if their predictions change, taxes don't get cut. In fact, there's just a new problem where taxes increase. So we have a clip here that kind of runs down the past predictions of what they were saying at the time, and then we'll talk more about what's happening nowadays and what the theory is today.
Yep.
Never came true. It's quite a fascinating journey when we look back and see what we believed would be the end of our world. Turn the clock back to the 1960s.
No.
The prediction of the day was that we would run out of oil in 10 years, a fear that sent ripples throughout the world, leading governments to impose new taxes, supposedly to fund alternatives and save the remaining oil. Fast forward to the present, and it's clear that this prediction, while alarming, never came to pass. Next stop, the 1970s. The threat this time, an impending ice age expected to arrive in 10 years. Again, the panic button was hit, and taxes were raised to supposedly fund research and solutions to this chilling prediction. Yet, the feared ice age never came, and those taxes? Well, they never left. Moving on to the 1980s. The buzzword was acid rain. The narrative was that acid rain was going to destroy all our crops in 10 years. The solution? More taxes, of course, this time to combat this new environmental threat. However, a decade later, our crops were still standing and the acid rain prediction was a distant memory. Next, we hit the 1990s. The ozone layer was the topic on everyone's lips, with claims it would be destroyed in 10 years. Cue the introduction of more taxes to fight this new menace. Yet here we are decades later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. That is actually crazy.
You know?
So now what's the topic now? Carbon tax.
Carbon
Wow.
tax, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember around 2006 when Al Gore came out with the documentary, The Inconvenient Truth, and they played it in like all schools. I don't know if you guys seen that documentary, but you know, in almost every class they played it, or at least talked about, made every school talk about climate change and do presentations on it. And basically, you know, Gore, just like the pattern that they had in all these other predictions, was that global warming is going to cause death, going to cause homelessness, going to cause all these problems, and it's actually the policies that we make because of these climate change problems. These policies are what's causing, you know, homelessness, is causing death, just like the LA fires. You know, I mean, they'll call me a conspiracy theory for saying that, but conspiracy theorist. But it just doesn't make sense how there's always these big problems, and the mainstream media is always making it seem like, okay, this is what the experts say, and the experts are always saying it's global warming, and that's it. There's no other theory, and there's no other discussion. So that's my problem with it.
Right. And all the taxes, like that video said, they all stood in place. None of them left. But all the problems and everything never came to truth. So where did all that money go? Why are we still paying all these things? Where's all this going? Making us weaker because we don't have the power in the money we have in our pockets. Weakening us, strengthening them.
Yep.
And it's all a very slow and slippery slope. Like, it's so slow that we can't tell as it's happening. And us that are working 9 to 5s cannot. Most people do not have the time to get informed the way like we try to. For example, there's no time. People are running families. The only thing they can stress is what their kids are eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Crazy.
And on the bright side, nowadays we have powerful people and famous people that are pushing back against that theory. Even like scientists that are pushing back against that theory, and they're finally able to speak out. Now, it's hard to see it with all the news outlets and all the people that actually support climate change and follow that nonsense and reiterate it over and over again. But we also have a couple clips of, the first one is Vivek, and the other one is a scientist that used to work for Greenpeace, with the opposite perspective that I think it's important to play so people can hear, you know, it's not just us saying this shit, right?
Yeah, that one is actually pretty important. He's talking about the effects of how we believe, it's like the misinformation of how we think carbon is actually bad, but yeah, it's really good. Really good point.
Is that there's a clip? There's a clip?
Yeah, I'm
We
about
got
to pull
two
it up.
clips,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, put up.
Pull it up.
So the
Wait,
first one is
so
important
you guys
'cause
didn't get
it's-
reimbursed for the taxes, bro? I got my shit back. I got
Yeah. Take 1,000 from our. Well, this is obviously not a fact, but take 1,000 from our pockets, but give us back 100.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of math that's not mathing.
All right, ready?
It's not mathing at all. Go.
As Republicans, I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this.
Yo, put them out. Hold on, stop. Yeah.
Is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax, and we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Damn.
Bro, I just got goosebumps because he just killed it.
All the NPCs were mad at him because he was speaking
Yeah,
facts.
Oh, yeah.
all the NPCs.
He said what no other politician had the balls to say. You know, the only one that is close to say anything like that is Trump, and you know, that's why he gets so much hate. But
And it's amazing. It's amazing the power that came to be. Trump with Elon, with Vivek, with Kennedy Jr., all these guys, I'm really hoping they all stick to the words that they got elected for, and I really hope they make the change that they really were won the election for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the next clip goes a little bit more in depth, right?
On its head the idea that carbon dioxide is a pollutant and somehow dangerous, when in fact it is the most important nutrient for all life on Earth, and without it this would be a dead planet. So I say not only is carbon dioxide good, it is essential, And it's a good thing that we are putting some more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because it was running low before we came along. If we had definitive proof that CO2 was causing serious problems and we could prove it, don't you think they would write that down on a piece of paper somewhere so people could read it? They don't have definitive proof, period, in science. And I know that the scientific method has not been applied in such a way as to prove that carbon dioxide is causing the Earth to warm.
I think in a few years, say 50 years from now, people go, that was a really stupid period in our history when we tried to change all our energy policies to cut this gas.
I am firmly of the belief that the future will show that this whole hysteria over climate change was a complete fabrication. One of my missions.
Now
He's
that
not
was
wrong.
that was a
He's
Greenpeace
not-
co-founder, Dr. Patrick Moore. If anybody wants to look him up.
He's not wrong. I'm telling you, carbon dioxide is one of the most necessary things in our atmosphere, or plants wouldn't be able to thrive.
But they
and create
feed. That's what
oxygen
they
that we
feed. That's
breathe.
literally their food. Saying we don't.
And once
saying
again,
we have an excess
once-
of it. It's
These guys are yet again going with fear mongering because they're pushing information on misinformed people because no time to look into these deeper to make their own understanding of it. And once again, the people who are eating this information are, misinformed.
bro.
They're not able
Also,
to think. So they're making emotional decisions, emotional acceptance.
Also, if let's say it is that it's carbon monoxide is a problem, and they try to tie it to us to the point where they make a carbon tax. If we are the problem, they're crazy because the amount of carbon monoxide we contribute to society is less than 1%. The biggest contributors to the carbon monoxide are actually cows.
Dioxide, but yeah.
Yeah, carbon dioxide.
Monoxide.
So it's we don't even contribute 1% of the actual,
Yeah, but I guess they're gonna push back on what you just said. That they're gonna say, "Oh, why are the cows causing that? Oh, because we're slaughtering them."
Because it's a
not
cycle.
necessarily.
They
so,
eat and they release it in their
so
poop.
they when they release gas, they're releasing methane gas, right? It's a total carbon content in the atmosphere, which causes the blanket of warming, right? So if you look at the Earth, and then you have the atmosphere, if it's an invisible layer of all this carbon that's being held in, as light passes through it, it's refracting off, going different directions, and staying in there, and basically blanketing it and keeping it hotter and hotter and hotter.
Right.
But as life goes on, right, the carbon levels, right, in the atmosphere are ever changing. We're consuming it, plants are consuming it, organisms are consuming it.
Bro,
right?
that's how nature works. Nature
The
is
whole-
smart enough to create a cycle that whatever you feed on also feeds whatever you need it. So the cows eat the grass, then they feed the grass, and then the
Symbiotic relationship.
It's like that. So them saying it's unnatural, the levels, it's like, no, you're fighting with nature. It's like this whole agenda that they want to fight with what's normal. They want to change what's normal. It's like, no, bro, don't fight with nature.
They just need people to think that basically the world is going to go to an end if we don't listen to them, right? So that's all it is at the end of the day. If we think
tax. So let's
gonna be
tax.
fine, yeah, exactly. If you think everything's going to be fine, then relax. Like, why do we got to put so much importance on this when there's homelessness, economic issues, blah, blah, blah. But if the world's going to end and shit's going to go, south, then we got to do something about it now, and we got to let them raise our taxes and make our whole situation worse.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but let's remind people that the English went to war. I'm pretty sure, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Went to war with the government off of tea tax, and I think it was 1% or 2% or a few percent, and now we're paying in Canada like 35-45% tax on our stuff.
Yep.
That's how far these guys created fear amongst the times, where now we're just accepting 45 and we're about to accept another few percent in carbon tax.
Insane.
Slow and steady, slow and slippery to where we don't feel it. But along the way, once you look back into history, if the history is not misconstrued, you will understand how far these guys have gotten by just one step at a time. And people being misinformed, being too busy to understand what's actually going on. Propaganda.
Yep.
Crazy. Topic number 4. Okay, this one, Tate running for prime minister in England. called the Bruv Party. And I feel like that's a perfect name. Like, how did this guy come up with such a name? Like, I don't know. He's so like he's like a Trump, bro. He's literally like a Trump. He's like a younger version of Trump. If Trump was to be 35 years old or 40 years old, I don't know how old Tate is. It would be like a mirroring image.
They're great. He's great at adapting to society. You know, he has to. All these politicians, where they fuck up, is they're still stuck in their old ways of how they connect to society and the generations.
Robots.
The way Trump and Tate connect to society, you can tell like, oh, they actually think for themselves. Oh, they can actually see what the important generation that they have to target, that they have to talk to. They know how to do their thing.
Because they actually believe in what they're saying. It's not like these politicians who are puppets on strings and they're just repeating what the monitor is saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're speaking with intellect and like belief coming from the heart. Like they mean what they say. And it may be, you might like it, you might not. But once they're bringing in facts, then throw the emotional part away. Like I was saying earlier, stop getting so emotional about what people say. Somebody swearing at you shouldn't be causing harm. Believe it or don't. If you know they're causing some BS, turn that TV off, turn that phone off, take off your internet, bro. Just throw it all out. Throw the whole box out. Go breathe air. Go for a walk with your dog. Do something else.
Go breathe there.
The Bruv Party stands for Britain Restoring Underlying Values. What a great name.
Wow.
Yeah. And they are the ones that say, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
No, that's a great name.
What's his thread saying, though? I want to see what he represents.
So let's dive into the threads that he's been posting and going off about. And let's get our reaction and opinions on what he thinks and believes. So one of the main things that he stands on is immigration. He believes that all these unscanned people coming in boats and buses, underground, above gates, they've been coming in every single direction is what I'm saying. And being unscanned, they're changing the culture from the places they've left, which is under chaos or whatnot, and under certain beliefs, coming to England and changing the English way of life from within. And he goes into things like violence, stabbings. One thing he knows about is England been falling apart in terms of crime rate. Girls getting raped because there's no respect. Like I said, people coming from different beliefs, looking at women in a different way. There's no value in the way they see women. So safety is a major issue, right? So let's read through some of the things that he's been off about.
British men died for British soil. It is not yours, and you have no right to it. It is not a line on a map. It is an island defended with the lives of the brave. If you get on a boat, we won't let you in. We have no obligation to save you from that boat, no matter how rough the seas. You shouldn't be on the boat in the first place. You have no right to our land. Illegal immigration will fall to zero enforcement by the Royal Navy. Do not come to our isle. Do not risk it. We do not offer salvation, Prime Minister Tate. That's a strong statement.
So just on that first one, what do you guys think about that first thing he said?
British men died for British soil?
Well, everything he said, pretty much immigration. We had a whole episode on immigration and what we thought about it. He's pretty much tying it very similarly to situations going around in Canada and the world, right?
Yeah. I think...
Now, some of the immigration we have in Canada was actually done legally, right? Mm-hmm. But Europe is so close to other sides of the world that it's not legal immigration he's talking about. No, it's illegal. People quite literally coming in boats. Military-aged men with different beliefs to what their culture is, coming in boats and causing chaos amongst the streets. That's what he's talking about.
By the boatload.
By the boatload.
Yeah, I think
I thought that was a good point. I thought that was a fair point. I do like what he's going. Now let's keep going. We'll scroll down. Unless somebody wants to touch on that. Miguel, do you want to touch on that?
No, just the main point is people went to war, bro. People fought and died and bled, to keep the country the way, they founded it to be, to keep those values. And now they're just throwing it all away. So what, those people died for nothing? That's crazy. You got to respect what they stand for. And if you don't like it, you find somewhere else to go. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Facts.
Okay. Scroll down.
Once on Prime Minister, Shamina Begun remains exiled from the United Kingdom. However, anyone who legally attempted to return her to our great nation is instantly deported and permanently banned from entry. No traitors. My man's
So I'm not
standing
sure
on
exactly.
business.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly who Shamina Begum is, but based on no trader, I totally agree with anybody. Like, you guys remember when Trudeau let the, I think, ISIS like ISIS tied person into Canada and allowed for refuge, something along those lines. It happened not long ago, just in like maybe a few years ago, and it was a huge scandal going on in Canada about it. How we're pretty much welcoming, pretty much allegedly terrorists within the country and allowing them to seek refuge. This goes like somewhere along those lines. You had any intention to destroy the country, you should be seen as a traitor and be gone.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I didn't.
I don't think there's anything wrong in them saying that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
Keep going,
Standing
Joe.
on business.
Keep going.
I'm standing
Next.
on business. There has never been more hate for British government than this very moment. They allow our children to be raped. They allow our pensioners to starve. They pontificate, but nothing ever changes. When I am Prime Minister, all of my political goals will come with a time limit. If I do not achieve them by set time, I will step down. Accountability and instant action. Instant change. Prime Minister Tate. That's what we need,
Another great
politicians,
point.
bro. Politicians, they just blur out what they think people wanna hear, and then they don't stand by it. They don't stand on business. Like Kamala with all her bullshit. 1 minute she's black, 1 minute she's Indian, 1 minute she's this, 1 minute she's that. She just want people, like, it came so ridiculous that she was bringing rappers and things to get people's votes and people's agreements. Like, they gotta stop with this stuff with the politicians. Just
Right. Or Trudeau.
say what you
or
gotta
Trudeau.
say and follow what you're gonna say. If you don't accomplish what you say by a certain time, you gotta step down.
You
Plain-
gotta love that some people are yelling at Andrew Tate, pay your taxes first.
I say that though.
And look who it is.
Because
dumbass.
it's where he's got tax fraud cases on him.
Once again, they're going to the emotional side of people, hitting them with propaganda and people getting emotionally inflicted, and his image will never be recovered in some people's eyes because they don't have the time to get informed. Some people are still going off about the things that allegedly happened without understanding that the case been dropped. Yeah, and going back to the point you were just saying, with limit on the time that you say making a promise to the people, and if not, be having to step down. Another great example, how you were saying Justin Trudeau saying that the budget will be balanced. It's written in stone or something along those lines. 8 years later, he quite literally did the exact opposite and doubled our debt. That should not be allowed. That should be on everybody's TV. That should be on everybody's phone. But because of the control that they have through the TVs and everything that they have, power over with money, people will never come to understand these things.
Yeah.
Next.
So there are currently 0 politician parties which are brave enough to address the issues facing the UK. They are all weak and afraid of the media. None of them put them on blast like I do. They're all cowards in front of BBC. They all cowered in front of BBC. I do not cower in front of pedophiles. I will be launching a brand new political party which is unwavering and unafraid. No compromise. Announcement soon. Great.
Right.
Amazing.
As you said, stand on the business you're talking about. If you make a promise, stand on that. If there's foreign pressure, you should have somebody in power to stand up to that. If there's people behind the scene making and pulling strings, and they're telling you to move a certain way because that's the way they see the world going. For example, the 2030 agenda, the Davos agenda, any of these agendas. No, if you're a prime minister or a president, you're looking for your own people, not for globalist agendas. So you need somebody in power to have the guts to stand up to these people who are not afraid of the repercussion, like threats. And I think he's been literally one of the guys who's been targeted for a long period of time, and he made it on the other side. He was able to stand on what he's been standing on from the beginning, and he made it to say the things that he did as time passed. Anybody want to say anything on that? Sorry.
Well, the main thing, like the reason he mentioned pedophiles is because they literally had on, like, I think one of their main news anchors or whatever, who was talking about Tate, who was broadcasting their trial and basically calling them sex predators and all that stuff. That guy, and not just him, were actually pedophiles, and they actually were convicted, right? So there's people online that are using those clips or that are reiterating those guys talking shit about Andrew Tate, and they're just literally copying the views of a pedophile. Then the pedophiles get caught, and then there's no remorse, there's no accountability. They just, oh, okay, whatever, it's all good, and they'll continue listening to the BBC as if that didn't just happen. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yep. Rules for thee, but not for me.
The fucking the whole case with Jeffrey Epstein and the Queen's grandson, fucking Prince Andrew, like what? That's fucking.
Yeah, how long did that make the headlines?
Bro,
it's crazy,
like he should have been convicted or something. This guy got away with nothing.
But they're still running off with Andrew Tate's BS, and some people still believe that he's still convicted of some nonsense.
Yeah, let's move on.
Next.
We do not want national inquiries. We want broadcasted court cases for full transparency on abuses and jail sentences. We want action. We are tired of words. We want justice. Prime Minister Tate. That's a great picture, by the way. That is amazing.
Yep. So once again, facts. We want these. We want transparency. Transparency is the number one thing as people put in place to represent the people. We want full accountability and understanding for what they're doing and what's happening. Something we're missing nowadays.
I actually have one of the clips. I don't know if you want to continue, but it basically summarizes everything he's trying to say here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's run through that.
Long enough time frame, I will win. My promise to everyone at home is that I will deliver my manifesto instantly and efficiently. You can download the manifesto at votebruv.co.uk for free, and you will be able to see exactly how I intend to fix the UK. If I do not implement my manifesto within 3 months of power, I will step down myself. If I take power and shadow interests, hidden figures prevent me from implementing my manifesto, I will tell all of you why they are stopping me and who they are. I will be transparent and explain exactly why we cannot fix our country. I understand by doing this, they're going to try and put me in jail like they already have. I understand by doing this, I'm making very powerful enemies. But men must live for something larger than themselves. Their perma-failure will eventually lead to their destruction, and we will reunite as a country and take our borders back. There is nothing left to lose. There is no longer any time to wait. Our country is falling apart around us, and in this world where things move faster than they ever have, the process is accelerating. America has managed to save itself with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And now the United Kingdom needs somebody who is prepared to do the hard things which must be done, who is prepared to be the bad guy, who's prepared to take the heat and risk his life to save our once great nation before it is too late. If you would like to see me as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, you can support the Bruv mission, Britain Restoring Underlying Values, simply by signing up for the email list at votebruv.co.uk.
I vote bruv. I vote bruv.
I vote bruv. Vote bruv.
I'm not even British, but I vote.
That was so well said. It's insane. So well said. Like it puts a fire in you, and like to be urgent about everything moving forward. That's what you need. That's what a country needs to put things back into place. We're talking about Canadian issues and how fast somebody like Poilievre is going to be able to move, and talking about urgency. We want that for our country. That's literally what Tate is doing for Britain, and how he's trying to move with Britain. Crazy.
That clarity is good. I mean, I don't know if we have to go to the next clip. We could just move on, but the next clip is just.
No, let's do it.
Yeah, the next clip is just basically Andrew Tate, because he joined Islam, right? He was a Christian, and then he joined Islam, and now he's hard on immigration. So you got all these, and he's pretty much denouncing the problem that they're having about how there's a pattern of young girls getting assaulted, and how when you look at the convictions, there's a pattern of it being, I think, Pakistani men or Muslim men. right? So now the Muslim community, the community that he supported, especially when the Israel-Gaza situation was going on, now a lot of them are turning against him, right? Because they don't like their group being attacked. But luckily, Tate is a guy that sticks to the truth, so he doesn't care about how he looks within the group, right? He's just going to call it for what it is. So this is a good clip of him pretty much expressing that truth. So it's important to play.
Are upset with me right now. They're arguing the semantics of a post I made explaining that people, white Christians, are going to be very Islamophobic if we do not come out in defense of young innocent children. And they're not thinking correctly for a few reasons. One, because if we only allow Zionists to be the ones who are against the rape of children, then Zionists are going to appeal to the masses, because most people agree that little kids shouldn't be raped. And that, considering it was Muslim men who committed these heinous acts, we as Muslims should be offended and come out against them. Secondly, they're saying, oh look, but a white man raped kids too. That's not what we're talking about. People of all races and all ethnicities rape kids. What we're talking about, the fact that when Muslims do it, it's covered up by a government. When a white man does it, it is not. These are actually completely different subjects, but these people are too stupid to understand them. They've attacked me now, and they think by trying to vilify me and endlessly attack me for clicks, somehow it's going to help them in their standing in Western societies. And I want to make something very clear. I live in the most Christian country in the world. My reversion to Islam was extremely risky to do. I'm in the middle of the largest and most famous criminal case on the planet. All of my judges are Christians. I live in a Christian society that is very fearful of Muslims. I have suffered for my reversion. I also stood up to Piers Morgan on October 8th, the day after, and against all legal advice, made it clear that what was happening was a genocide. And I stood up on the most watched platform on the planet in the middle of a criminal case with Christian judges judging me, and I stood there defending Muslims. And this same community of Muslims then turn on me and attack me because I gave my daughter a Christmas present, because you're not supposed to celebrate Christmas. And they start saying I'm not really a Muslim because I tried to give my daughter a Christmas present, and I need to argue with them about the Quran on my Twitter all day, and I need to reply to them, otherwise I'm afraid of them. You people are not in control of Islam at all. It's not yours. You don't own it. And I don't owe you a fucking thing. You're all irrelevant because you're just sitting there all day tweeting at me as I've blocked you. And I will block every single person who comes at me in bad faith. If you come at me in good faith for a conversation that you want to have, a logical conversation about Islam, I'd love to do that. I'd enjoy it. But when you come at me attacking me to try and get clicks, you just get blocked. It's insanity. The hubris and the lack of respect that these people are operating under does nothing which is positive for the image of Islam. And anybody who is defending child rapists just because they're Muslims is aiding Islamophobia and aiding the narrative control that certain populations inside on this planet want to have when it comes to Muslims. So, if you dislike me, you can dislike me. If you think I'm not a real Muslim, that's up to you. I know the truth of my heart, and Allah knows the truth of my heart.
So let's make something very clear about this situation. I do personally have quite a few Muslim buddies. They do have sisters, and they do not condone anything about child rape. And let me say this: if something was to happen to one of their sisters or one of their friends' sisters, it would quite literally be a ticking time bomb on who could get to the suspects first, the cops or them. Very serious. And just because there's some extremism on people believing that type of ideology, it doesn't paint a picture with everybody in that community. Just wanted to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with what he said. That was definitely great that he doesn't stand on that he did that. Like, he made it clear that, like, just because I'm part of this religion, I'm part of this group, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna criticize them when they're doing something wrong. There's definitely
and he's talking about specific small amount of people that do believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back to an idea of what the truth is and what he believes in and what common sense is, and he's running off with that, which it's facts. Like, nobody should condone, and you should not bring that into Western ideology and culture. I do not condone that. I would not want that. And him standing as a Muslim, and so as I have friends myself, we do not want that type of ideology here. We do not want that. If I don't have a daughter, but if I was to have a daughter, that would drive any one of us absolutely insane to believe that anybody would want that or condone that.
Yeah.
And the problem isn't necessarily like all Muslims, right? The problem isn't all whoever, any group, right? The problem is that there's a certain pattern in a certain area of the world, and for some reason there's some leniency there when it comes to the authority, right? The police and how they're convicting them or what they're doing about it, right? Let's just say they're not doing much about it, and that's why Englishmen are getting mad. And then you have the media or then sensitive people that are turning it into a race thing. Oh, Muslims versus Christians. And at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's just about being able to have the conversations, being able to talk about the patterns that are occurring, right? And then see, okay, how can we fix it? You know, so if you're a Muslim and there's like in this specific case, right, this is what's happening, then you should be able to just be like, hey, this is, I don't agree with that, like Adrian said, right? Because I'm sure most of them do not agree with it, right? But if you're then going on Twitter and you're choosing to accept that, oh no, this is racism, and then you're just being super defensive, then now you're the one contributing to the division, right? Contributing to people thinking like, oh, is this actually a Muslim thing? Which clearly it's not. So,
Yeah.
you know, we got to be
Once
able to have
again, the defense in most cases, like putting an image, putting a label. Oh, you don't believe in that? Now you're not a Muslim. No, that's just common sense. I wouldn't want my daughter to get raped. No, wouldn't that like? Why does that like go over people's heads? You're gonna kick somebody out of a belief, and then he's right. Who like you don't control like you those people who believe in extreme circumstances. You guys, they don't control the religion. Allah knows his intention, which seems to be positive. How we like once again being informed about situations that are going on in his life, we understand that he doesn't have malevolent intentions. Anyways, anything else on this topic? Topic number 5: the LA wildfires.
Yes.
How do we want to start that?
Let's start with the
I
tweet.
want to start by putting up, Trump's tweet, right?
Yeah, let's start with that tweet. That's a good one.
Because he calls out Gavin Newsom, and obviously, if you look at all the news outlets and the media narratives, they're calling Trump basically wrong, right? And they're using water experts, right? Just like in COVID, they had other experts to say that, oh no, Newsom is basically trying his best and there's nothing he could do about it, and this is all climate change, and yeah, we're gonna need more money and donations and blah blah blah, the usual fucking thing that goes on, right?
I love how in the tweet he changes his last name. I'll read it, but it's hilarious. I love the way he just, you know, he can do that. He doesn't just keep it so extremely serious. He just trolls and is necessary. So to, you know, convey the anger that people have toward this guy. Governor Gavin Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration to put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snow melt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Ridiculous. Now the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is to blame for this. On top of it all, no water for fire hydrants, no firefighting planes, a true disaster.
So this is another prime example of people put in place, being absolutely misinformed on situations that could go wrong, having no preparation, and now you got full-on communities, 150 billion in damage, all directly contributed because of the leader put in power.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense.
Yeah. And now, before we get into the sketchy facts, right, that we found that obviously the news now isn't talking about, but before they were, We have a Washington Post article here, and it basically says, the classic, a Newsom spokesperson responded that no such document existed, said that the governor is only focused on protecting the people and not playing politics, making sure firefighters have all the resources they need, a classic political answer. But then you got Trump's side who's saying no, there's actually a 2020 memorandum that Trump signed, meant to direct more water to Southern and Central California, because they realized that this was an issue back then. And California sued to block that effort, arguing that it could harm endangered species, which is that fish, the smelt. I don't know how important that is, but when it comes to people, obviously you should be choosing the people. And then it ends pretty much with what all news media outlets are saying. Trump's contention that Newsom's water management decisions were to blame for the severity of the fires is not supported by the facts, multiple water experts told the Washington Post. Right? So they're making it seem like Trump is just blaming this one decision on all the fires, when no, that's not what's happening. But it obviously is a factor to why now all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we don't have enough water, we don't have enough resources to stop this problem. What can we do? There's nothing we can do. It's only climate change. We got to invest a bunch of money and raise your taxes, right?
So now, with all that being said, could we question, are we conspiracy theorists for putting up the question or what their intentions were when it's not scientifically justified, and for him not to sign on these documents for this type of protection? So is it possible that this happened to wipe off full-on communities to recreate smart cities? Are we crazy and off the grid for thinking things like this? See, once again, people are being labeled a certain type of way of thinking just because they seem to question what should be questionable.
Well,
But once again, we're being labeled and we're being shut down because we're just literally asking simple questions.
They'll always push on the conspiracy theory part. Like, first of all, you gotta understand where that term came from. It's a CIA term that they invented just to discredit people from learning the truth, right? So there's always gonna be pushback on whenever you have a theory of something, because we as people can just see what's been put out there, and then we can connect dots and make a theory out of what's going on. A theory doesn't just come from nowhere. Like this whole smart city thing with the LA comes from an initiative that they brought years ago of wanting to make LA a smart city. So there's things backing it up, right? It's not saying like, yeah, they did it for that purpose, but it could be a theory of why they did it.
Questionable.
There's also like a lot of questionable things with this fire. There's videos I showed Popa yesterday of a satellite that captured 3 different fires when it started at the same time. That stuff doesn't happen. Like if you get a fire that spreads, it usually starts for it's a pinpoint and then it spreads. It's not 3 different pinpoints and all of them igniting at the same time. It's highly unusual. There is the whole thing with the budget. A month before the fires came, the firefighter budget was lower. And then there is the whole thing with the insurance companies. 3 months prior to the fires, they took out the fire protection, just the fire protection from the homes. So
like, how did that happen, and why are we crazy for asking that?
When you start linking all this stuff, you go, okay, maybe it wasn't just like accidental. Maybe there has to be something with like a plan.
What I was reading up on is the reason why the your policies were canceled for the fire was because California introduced new legislation that would cap the amount that insurance companies could raise the premium. And so what that caused insurance companies to do to say, okay, I'm stepping away from the liability, then I'm just going to drop all of the customers that we got with this fire protection. And now when you tie it into the smart home meters, potentially causing the fires to start, and some homes that do not have the smart home meter installed not going up in blaze, you start to piece all the pieces together and start to make sense of it. It looks very, very suspicious.
Very fishy. It makes you question. It makes you say it again. Okay, so once again, the leader put something in place for the insurance companies to be like, okay, we can't provide that anymore.
Yep.
Does he know something, and was he instructed, or is he part of an agenda to put these things in place?
Yeah.
Right?
And like we mentioned, I have a few links. I mean, we'll put it up after, links to the articles that we could put up. But like you said, this one from Newsweek, it says Gavin Newsom cut $100 million from fire prevention budget before California fires. That's what Joseph touched up on. Another article from firehouse.com, due to wildfire risks, California homeowners lose insurance. And that was happening way before these fires. And then even this one link that I found where it says the reservoir in Pacific Palisades, which is in Los Angeles, was out of commission when the fire started. So they turned off this reservoir of water, and they did it for, you know, their own reasons. I don't know if they were testing or whatever the excuse that they have, but they turned it off at the moment that they're going to need it the most. And then obviously these fires happen, and they're like, oh, fuck, you know, there's nothing we can do now. So it's all just a matter of coincidence.
You know,
it just seems sketchy.
It seems so intricate.
Interconnect.
Yeah, but it's so intricative, almost like the pager bombings. You know, like a lot of work would have had to been put in preemptively. You know what I'm saying? Like people would have had. Some people have to know. Some people
this,
have to be to know.
Yeah. It's like, and this brings back. It's like the 9/11. It's like how the building's been sold a few months or years prior to that happening, and some things have like changed internally. I think from like security to like to a couple things within the buildings. I just tied it back to that scenario. And when people found these things out, they were called conspiracy theorists just for questioning that. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that was kind of off topic, but yeah.
No, it makes sense, and I kind of want to play this last clip because people are going to listen to it. Maybe they never heard of this theory, or they think that the fact that we're linking it to a preparation for an LA smart city is just some conspiracies that we found online that conservatives are spreading. But no, you have here in this link that we're going to show, you have Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. The people that are getting together, globalists that are trying to change society, right? And they're the same group that states by 2030 that we will all own nothing and be happy. And they also promise that by then, by 2030, 1 billion people will be displaced because of climate change. And they're really the ones that are pushing climate change hard and probably haven't in the past. And you even have Klaus Schwab mentioning LA, what's going to happen. He doesn't mention how it's going to happen, obviously, because I don't think people that are living in LA would just want to let them take their homes or do this large-scale construction. So, obviously it's convenient that now there's fires, so they're going to be able to, without insurance, the people aren't going to have insurance, so they're going to be able to buy their property for pennies on the dollar. So it's all convenient. But let's just play that clip.
And before the clip, we gotta really emphasize this, because people who look at people who question things like this and they're like, oh, conspiracy theorists. And they're always like, who says this? Who says that? Who this? Who that? We're telling you, Klaus Schwab, Economic Forum, Davos agenda, 2030 agenda. Just take a little bit of time. You don't have to believe what we say. This is so important. Do not believe on everything we say. Don't believe everything TV says. Don't believe everything social media says.
Yeah. Do your own research.
Just find the things to read and do your own research. Be self-informed. And this goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. Majority of people don't have the time to get informed, and that's where they get us.
Yeah, just know that the end goal of everything is a new world order, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a new way of governing the world. That's the end goal for these people. So call me whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
We meet for the 20th. I hope I will have the pleasure still to be invited for the meeting when we meet for the 20th Governance Summit. You will use the app like Uber, but not anymore to call some driver, but automatically guided car, a self-driven car, will come to your hotel or wherever you are and will bring you to the airport. No, Los Angeles is one of the cities with the heaviest traffic, who told me in 2030 Los Angeles will be private car driven free. And this will allow to transform highways into parks and other public spheres.
You know, one thing about these videos is they make it seem like it's such a positive thing.
Yeah.
Well, they always do.
That's how they sell you. That's how they sell you on things. But he forgot to say that there's going to be cameras everywhere. There's going to be facial recognition. If you do something, you don't pay a fine, your car will not come and pick you up to drive you to the airport. Yeah. See, they sell you on beautiful parks, car driven. Keep the carbon dioxide down. But what about you making it to the airport and missing your flight? Are you gonna have that?
Bro, if people want to see what the future looks like, you can. What's that show on Netflix? I forget the name of it.
Family Guy?
No. It's I'll put it up over here. The name of the show, but the name of the show literally it's like it brings up scenarios of like the future of things that can happen, and it's scary. But fuck the show. Look at China, bro. China is doing China like when you talk about China, you don't hear a lot of things because the country is so protective with their information, just like Russia or just like North Korea. You don't learn about these things because they're so protective of what gets out of the country. That journalists have a hard time getting information to come out. But China is so advanced that they have these systems implemented already. They have cameras everywhere that record and facial recognition you. So when you commit a crime, you'll get a ticket or you'll get arrested right on the spot.
Yeah. Remember when Justin Trudeau like gave props to China and they're like, oh, they're a great example. I remember this happened a few years ago. I think it was during like 2020 or that time.
Yeah,
insane, bro. They're telling you dead to your face, like who they like, what their model is.
No, but not just that. Even California, Gavin Newsom, when China was coming to visit just for that weekend, that's when he spent a bunch of money to clean up the streets, clean up the homeless people. That was the only time he intervened to really help the city, and it was when China was coming.
That's like North Korea having that visitation city where people can go on a tour and have that's like only that city, then have a great example of what the picture for North Korea would be.
We have a couple of videos that Miggy put. Oh, I want to bring this one up. Is of Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is like, if you want to see one of the people that used to be part of the club and got out, or maybe he was never part of the club, he was just part of that society, and is now superly outspoken. Mel Gibson created The Passion of Christ. He created recently another movie where it talks about the trafficking of kids from countries and they move it into the U.S. Great movies. He has a thing called the Angel. I might be chalking it, but it's called the Angel Casting or something like that. It's like his own production channel where like because he got denied from so many places like Hollywood and stuff like that. He made it his own and he's releasing like really good movies. But here's a clip of him talking about what he thinks about like the fire hydrants and like everything that's going on in LA right now. So
you know, I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose? Which it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, you know? Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's extremely funny how he's just laughing it off and just like throws the question in. But then, you know, conspiracy a person who just labeled people be like, oh, this guy is just a guy yapping. And that's the picture I sent. So go back to fire trucks real quick. So what that picture was pretty much one of the states sending trucks in.
Oh, right here.
Sending trucks into read that. Put it closer.
Yes.
Oh, being stopped. Yeah.
So Oregon sent 60 fire trucks to help fight the fires in Los Angeles. They are parked in San Francisco, not allowed to be used because they don't have proof that they meet California emission standards. Los Angeles continues to burn because California politicians are insane. That is an insane thing to do. These trucks are coming to help fix a fucking emergency state that's going on, and they say no, it doesn't meet the emission standards. Like you gotta be.
Yeah.
You gotta not want help. Like you know when you don't want help, you do
You
not
got
want
the
help.
fires haven't done the damage we're looking for. So like, stall them for another 2 weeks.
Talking about emissions,
Crazy.
look at all the emissions with all the fires, bro. Fuck you. Like,
Lost.
that is crazy.
Did you guys have some clips that you guys wanted to add in, or any other topic? Oh, the Mark Zuckerberg. We wanted to touch on that. No, how he just Miggy, how you wanted to touch on how he's like his political ship based on what the governance is, so he can kind of pretty much pick a side every time somebody's in power. I think you wanted to say something on that.
Yeah, I mean the reason I even brought up Mark Zuckerberg has to do with that clip. If you want to play it, it's about the Jimmy Carter funeral, and it is pretty relevant how Obama was kind of laughing with Trump, and in this clip they had a professional lip reader kind of say what he was saying. So do you want to go to topic number 1 and play that clip?
I wanted to watch this. I haven't watched the video yet, but I really wanted to know the conversation, so I'm excited to watch this.
Say to each other, the world wants to know what political rivals Donald Trump and Barack Obama were chatting about at Jimmy Carter's funeral. They sure looked friendly. They chuckled like old buddies. Trump even made Obama laugh. So what did they say? We enlisted the services of a court-certified forensic lip reader to find out. According to lip reader Jeremy Freeman, Obama says to Trump, "I can't talk. We have to find a quiet place. This is a matter of importance, and we need to do this outside so that we can deal with it, certainly today." At one point, Trump says, "I've pulled out of that. It's the conditions." Can you imagine that? It's unclear what Trump is referring to. The most awkward moment at the funeral may have come when former VP Mike Pence and Trump came face-to-face for the first time in 4 years. Pence refused to endorse Trump for president following their falling out from the January 6, 2021 riots. Trump and Pence looked civil with each other. Pence says, "Good to see you," and shakes hands. Then he greets Melania with a "good to see you." And check out Pence's wife, Karen. She does not interact with the Trumps and stares straight ahead.
What a Karen. What a Karen she is.
But like, I don't know about that last part, but the main part is how Obama, right? The same guy that tried to make Black Americans feel bad about voting for Trump, who was basically pleading that Trump is an extreme threat to democracy, right? Is the same guy that now is laughing with Trump. And based off what he said, it's almost like he's trying to warn Trump about something, telling him like, "Yo, we need to talk later off the camera, and there's something I need to say," right?
Hey, you know what's weird? Mike Obama wasn't there. I did not see him. I did not see him sitting beside his husband. What's going on with that?
That's funny. And the reason, the reason you brought up this clip and how it relates to Mark is that now Obama seems to be doing what Mark Zuckerberg is trying to do, is to play both sides.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the left was in party, we had Mark doing what they said, not coming out, not saying anything, and helping them out. Now that Trump is in the lead, now Trump's about to be president, now he's pulling back. He's kind of putting the whole blame on that party and trying to make it seem like, oh no, he is about free speech and he is on the public side, which I don't believe one bit.
Yeah, you can't believe someone who fucking flip-flops. You're either here or there, brother.
But if you look at it from another perspective, it's actually a good thing, like for everyone who does support Trump, because these are people that are bought and paid for, right, on the other side, that are now that now themselves believe that Trump's reign and victory is likely to occur, right? So, I mean, if they're believing it, that means they don't really have faith on their side, which gives us hope that things are moving in the right direction.
Damn right.
Yeah.
They're scared. They're quivering in their fucking panties.
Any more topics for the kickback section?
That's an easy one to cut out there, Joe.
All right, so let's start with this one. This one's kind of crazy. So this guy, says study on eating bugs and the Great Reset. Now, I was telling Popa a little bit about this yesterday, but one of the main things they want to One of the agendas is depopulate. They say it all the time. Look at Bill Clinton. Not Bill Clinton. Look at what's that guy that made Microsoft? I forget his fucking name.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Look at Bill Gates. He has a lot of. He's deleted them. It's because he saw like the pushback on them. But he had a TED talk years ago when he's talking about how the main issue in the world right now it's overpopulation and how we have to bring it down. And he literally says one of the solutions is vaccines. Klaus Schwab says it all the time as well. He's they talk about depopulating. Also, Klaus Schwab talks about how we have to get people to start eating bugs, right?
And this is not like a. We had Trudeau fund bug labs in Canada. Is that not a thing? Didn't that just happen? Just recently shut down because there's no profit or something. It wasn't as successful as they were planning.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. And in China, they have bug farms where they procreate grasshoppers, so they send them to like the whole country so they can eat. Now people think it's a source of protein, and sure there is the protein side of it, but there's also a lot of things within these bugs that are not healthy for your organs that actually start killing your organs. So this guy actually talks a little bit about it. So
funded by the government said that the chitin in bugs, the exoskeletons, will provoke human innate immunity to generate a deluge of inflammatory cytokines which injure organs and in persistent situations lead to death, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus, and cancer. Sign me up, right? So the goal, folks, is not to save the planet. It's not to save the climate. Like the revolutionaries used to say back in the 60s, the Students for a Democratic Society, the issue is never the issue. It's not about global warming. It's not about sustainable development. It's about enslaving humanity. They want to wipe out small, medium-sized producers, centralize food control in the hands of mega corporations in bed with the mega governments. They want to move the population into the mega cities and ultimately bring about this great reset in what they call the New World Order. And I'm out of time, but I'll leave you with...
Dr. Kissinger, our satellite time is running out. What wonderful opportunity to conclude our week here with such concrete proposals and ideas of how we can really create, I would say, a new world order.
Yeah.
So yeah,
bro, they're telling you straight to your face that this is their plan, and people are still conspiracy theories. Oh man.
I like how he says the issue is never the issue, and it's so true. The issue they portray is never the issue because it's not there. It was fabricated.
Yeah.
Goddamn politicians and shit, deep state motherfuckers.
Create the chaos so they can implement their solutions. That's insane.
Yeah, create the problem
so
you can make the solution, and then profit off of both.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have any opinions? Or should we move on?
I'd say move on. That video touched into pretty much the whole
podcast
episode today.
Yeah, that was a good one. Look at this. This is so funny. This is so funny, and I want you to pick a side. Okay, so he talks about 3 types of people. I want you to think about it and let me know which type of person you are. And I'm definitely this guy. This guy right here. This guy right here. I'm him. I'm that guy. So let's watch this.
I hurt people. I'm a dick.
Well, being a dick ain't so bad. See, there's 3 kinds of people. Dicks, pussies, and assholes. Pussies think everyone can get along, and dicks just want to fuck all the time without thinking it through. But then you got your assholes, Chuck. And all the assholes want us to shit all over everything. So pussies may get mad at dicks once in a while because pussies get fucked by dicks. But dicks also fuck assholes, Chuck. And if they didn't fuck the assholes, you know what you'd get? You'd get your dick and your pussy all covered in shit. Easy. Whoa, you gotta calm down there, Chuck.
How great is that? How much sense did that make?
That's actually hilarious.
How much sense did that make? Pussies literally are what like these beta males are that just allow society to go to shit without standing up and doing anything, no protest. And dicks are ready, they like people will say Andrew Tate's a dick, Donald Trump's a dick. Sure. Why do you think they're dicks? Because they stand on business, because they talk it how it is, they say it straight how it is, and you may not like the way they said it, but they're standing on business. And assholes are literally like Klaus Schwab, all these elites that are trying to shit on everybody, on dicks and pussies. They don't discriminate. So who's gotta fuck them? We gotta fuck them.
I love it.
We gotta fuck them. You know what I'm saying? So what are you guys? Are you guys dicks, pussies, or assholes?
I'm a big dick.
I'm an asshole. I just want to shit on everybody.
Damn, you're the problem, brother. You're the problem. All right, what else we got? Okay, we got this one. Miggy sent that in. You want to talk about what that is, Miggy?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw this the other day. I think, Dwayne Wade, he's good at basketball. I'm pretty sure Julian knows more on him specifically than anyone else because he watches basketball. But now that he's out of the game, he's trying to stay relevant, right? And he has his daughter that is a trans, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, as a parent, there's a few ways to go about this, right? But he is choosing to basically put her in the spotlight and make her feel good about herself, which is fine. I understand that. But he's also making himself feel good. He's also making himself feel relevant. And this is the problem I have with Hollywood, right? Like, it's really not about, he's not really thinking long term. At least it doesn't seem like it. And he's choosing to kind of prop up himself and his family and kind of make money off of it. So I mean, you tell me what you guys think.
Yeah, so one sec, before we play video, I just want to reiterate again. We have, as a group, I want to say, we have no problem with people and the decision they want to do on their life regarding things like this. You want to make these life impactful changes to your life? Cool, do that. What makes it an issue is when you're influencing abnormality. That's when it becomes a problem.
You're making it
when you're trying to change the norm of the things that help us get so far ahead and pushed us so far as society. And now we're influencing people, kids, educational systems to do things that are not, I don't want to say not normal because then it infringes on what they believe normal is. But at the end of the day, when you let influences come into you and express what only 5% or less than 5% of the population, you're going against what the normal is and you're trying to influence and change it.
Look, bro.
Anyways,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, Jay. I don't care who says it, bro. If you're not allowed to vote and you're not allowed to get a tattoo before a certain age, you should not be allowed to do a big thing like transitioning.
Oh, that's not wrong to say. 100% agree. Do not let these kids
If you're not allowed to do this, if you're not allowed to vote and you're not allowed to get a tattoo, which are not
or drive
that crazy of a thing, you should not be able to do the craziest thing of all. And above all that, you should not infringe on people that it's okay. Like, put it in their mindset. Like, kids believe in Santa Claus.
Brainwash kids.
Kids
like,
believe in this and that until you get to a certain age where you mature mentally and you're able to, actually think for yourself. So many cases where these people transition at such a young age, they get to 4 years of being transitioned and they regret it. But what happens?
They can never go back.
They can't go back.
Lifelong decisions being made for them and making it seem like it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's
crazy stuff.
Cruel. It's cruel.
And like when you're young, you're basically influenced. It's easier to get influenced, right? So whether you think you're a trend, whether you think like maybe you're influenced to think that you're a thug, maybe you're influenced to think that you're a murderer, maybe you have inner thoughts that make you lean towards pedophilia. Like if we start allowing people to think that whatever they feel is okay and is normal and is good for society, and then we're pushing it on kids, then we're just causing more confusion, right? And we got to be able to draw a line of, again, what is okay for society and what is not. I mean, if you're older and you want to have your own thing on the side in your bedroom, then that's fine. But if you're going to start trying to teach kids that no, like, it's actually good to be it's actually good to be the opposite of what you were generally made to be, right? Or what your natural instinct is as a human being, or how God made you, then we're just, causing division. And it's not about feelings, man. It's just about what's best for society.
Right.
It's not
exactly.
It's not that we're not being accepting. Again, we accept it, but now when you're trying to influence everybody, again, like if I'm Christian and stuff, right? If I start, telling people, no, you gotta believe in God, you gotta do this, and all that stuff, and then I just don't listen to anybody, I don't give a fuck about anybody feels, and I start telling my kids and your kids, like in the classroom, that they gotta believe in this, you would say that I'm indoctrinating them. So why don't you just let kids be kids, teach them about everything, and then stop pushing certain narratives?
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is if people are allowed to get offended when you're trying to influence on certain topics, which you're not, like, but they take offense to, let's say, a Christian trying to influence somebody to revert from a certain religion to Christianity, and they find offense to that. Why can we not get offended by when I don't have kids, but let's say in the future these influencers are trying to get into the heads of my kids? Teaching abnormality, influencing in the wrong direction, what I believe as a parent would be the wrong direction.
I'm Dwayne Wade.
And I'm Zaya Wade, and yeah, welcome to Translatable. Translatable aims to serve as a community safe space for youth to express themselves through a number of creative outlets. Here at Translatable, we focus on communities of color, center the most marginalized, and emphasize the importance of parents and family.
Translatable is also a resource hub for parents, families, and support system of the LGBTQIA+ youth. For our family, we were blessed to have a community of supporters and knowledgeable experts who could swiftly arm us with the tools we needed to support Zaya in her journey. We recognize the lack of digestible and relatable information available to youth and families, especially communities of color. And to this day, we are still learning. I'm so very proud of the daughter that I've had the opportunity to raise. She has been my biggest educator and inspiration of what it means to be true to you.
That's a big boy you got there, brother. Sorry, big daughter.
Nah.
My bad.
So this is what I'm gonna say on that video. Look, at that, it's not. I don't see it as something wrong there. What I see wrong about that is he's using his influence on what we kind of believe that is a wrong ideology, right? But at the same time, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt and say, look, he has a big influence, right? So he's reaching out. He's using his reach to make people feel comfortable in that world, in that side of the world where they believe that, and that's okay. You're using your influence to make people comfortable and giving them a safe space. I don't think that video is so bad. Now, what I do disagree with is when things are put in place, like medical care to allow kids to transition. Kids, not older. If you're older and you want to do stuff, do your own thing. But when you give access to making lifelong changes, that's where I'm against.
Bro, not even allowed. They fund it with taxpayers' money.
Fund it, and with my money.
With our money.
That's the problem. Sorry, I just want to touch on the point. It's just like the World Economic Forum guy. They make, and just like this video, it's all nice, it sounds good. They make it sound like, we're just accepting, there's no problem, we just want to be educational. But then they're really supporting that, what you guys are against. So that's why it's okay, I understand what you're saying, Adrian. You don't want to say that there's anything wrong with that, but because we don't draw a line and we don't say that's wrong, you have more people just listening to them and being like, oh, okay, no, let's just be nice and compassionate. But if that video was let's just say Dwayne's daughter was again, a murderer or a thief or whatever, you can put anything that society doesn't deem acceptable right now, but might deem acceptable in the future, like pedophilia, then you would easily be able to be no, it sounds nice, just like Klaus Schwab, it sounds nice, what they're saying, but in the back door, they're gonna fuck everybody else. They're gonna start indoctrinating your children, use your tax dollars.
And that's a very fair point. You don't push back. You don't push back on it. You might just get exactly what you don't want, which is so true.
Yeah, that's how we got here to this state of affairs in other countries and everything that's happening. Because everybody's so nice and they don't want to piss anybody off. No one wants to be a dick. So if you're not a dick, you just end up being a pussy. Like that video said, it's either you're an asshole, a dick, or a pussy. If you're not going to be a dick, you're going to be a pussy, or you're going to turn into an asshole.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
That's the same guy.
Mel Gibson. He's
in the
Lethal
Action?
Yeah, no, I forget his name sometimes. But Mel Gibson, he's in the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm telling you guys got to listen to this guy. He is one of the actors directors. He's been up there. He's seen all these people, and he's not afraid to talk because he's I mean, I guess he's in a way protected, but he knows the consequences of the things he says. So listen to what he's got to say.
Okay.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole. Yeah. I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people
they've
drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
I'll tell you.
Wow.
A lot of that.
And this is what I want to say. This is what I want to say regarding that, because that's actually insane. If that is true, I'm not sure if it is, but if it is true, right? And he's talking about people having stage 4, and they pretty much came to an acceptance of, okay, I'm gonna die. Why wouldn't you take the risk? If you have nothing to lose, you're already facing death. Why wouldn't you go the route of at least trying something like that? You see people talking, you already have nothing to lose. Why wouldn't you try to at least take that risk of possibly making a recovery when professionals are talking about things like this? Remember when people were directed during 2020 to take ivermectin and fenbendazole to survive, and that was Trump saying it, and he was gaslighted about it, and then it turned out to be true.
Yeah. Oh, bro, like he mentioned at the end, these medical companies, these medical studies, they're failing us because they don't promote things that don't profit them. And like I've said many times, a one-time fix is not a profit. It's not a business. If you make a one-time anything, that's why people, there's like this phrase, like the older things used to be better, because in the older days they used to last longer. A TV lasted longer, a refrigerator lasted longer, a car would lasted longer without breaking down. But what did they notice? Oh yeah, we can't be doing that, because if we make a really good car that they never have to fix, then they won't be coming back to us. If we do this, if we do that, there's no business in it. And
touching on that point,
scummy.
This is a fact. I'm just not sure exactly what year it happened and when things got put in place. When the first light bulb was made, it was actually created so it doesn't die off. But then they came up understanding that there's no profit in that. So now they got scientists to come up with a light bulb that would have a lifespan. So you keep on buying light bulbs.
Yeah, they put it in the box.
Maybe
they have a life expectancy on it.
Yeah. But when it was first made, those things would stay forever. But there was no money in that. So then they created something and a product where now it dies off, and you keep on being a supplier for it for the rest of people's lives. Everybody's gonna need light.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But see, I also just one more thing. I also understand why. Like, okay, like economy needs to run. If you sell everybody one light bulb and it lasts forever, money's not circulating.
Yeah, but
so is it wrong on the bigger scheme of things? Is it wrong? No, I'm not attaching this to the health section. I'm not trying to connect the dots and say, okay, yeah, having people who are not here is a good. No. People fight for your health care. If you are doing things, I'm not a doctor. I'm not promoting nothing. I'm not a medical.
It should just be priced accordingly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, take advice and
it should be priced accordingly.
Get informed.
Like they should release the light bulb that lasts a long time and just charge it accordingly to what that light bulb is. If someone wants to spend the money to buy a light bulb that they never have to replace for 10 years, 20 years, they should have that option. Or if they want to just pay the $5 for the light bulb that's going to run out in 6 months, you should have that option of doing that. That way the market will still flow and money will be coming in and out. But if you just make the $5 light bulb an option without making the other one an option, You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but in
saying?
a free market, things to invent get cheaper over time. So at some point, people are just gonna create light bulbs that just don't die.
And they should find other ways to make money.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
That's what they're scared
Hey,
of, right?
Joe, that's a nice light bulb moment right there.
yeah.
Boom! It lit up. Boom.
All right, let's watch this other one. This one is crazy. I really want to do this like one day we have time on the podcast. Like just hop on Chat GPT and
Is that
ask him,
Jared Dudley?
and ask questions. Is the real Jason Shuruka? Shuruka. All right, let's watch this hoe.
Dollar amount of how much it would cost per year to solve the problem of homelessness in the United States of America.
Estimates suggest it could take around $20 billion annually to address homelessness in the United States. This figure includes housing and supportive services.
Can you give me a dollar amount of how much it would cost per year to solve the issue of hunger all around the United States?
To address hunger in the U.S., it would likely cost around $25 billion annually. This would cover food assistance and support programs.
Can you give me a dollar amount of how much it would cost per year to send every student to college for free in the United States of America?
Providing free college tuition in the U.S. is estimated to cost between $50 billion and $75 billion annually, depending on the specifics of the program.
Can you tell me a specific dollar amount of how much the United States of America sent to the Ukraine ever since the start of the war?
The United States has committed approximately $175 billion in aid to Ukraine since the conflict began in February 2022.
Damn.
So are you telling me that for the same money that the United States of America sent over to Ukraine, the United States of America could have solved hunger, homelessness, and sent every student in the United States of America to college for free?
Yes, the total amount of aid sent to Ukraine is roughly comparable to the combined estimated costs of addressing hunger, homelessness, and free college tuition in the U.S.
What do you think
Mic
about
drop.
that?
Mic drop.
What do you think about that?
Wow. Wow.
There's obviously other agendas in play. Like I said earlier, everybody's got the fucking skin in the game and they want to get the ball rolling.
Bro, think about what we sent. Think about what we could have done. Like, you got to see his stats were based on the big population of the U.S. We have a way smaller population in
1/10.
Canada, and we've sent roughly close to what they've sent. If not, I'm not sure how much it is, but I don't know if it's more or less, but it's somewhere around the same ballpark. Think about what we could have done for Canada with that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was insane. This is hilarious. This shit is hilarious. I don't know if you guys ever seen this video, but watch this.
Some members of the media use their platforms
to push their own personal bias.
to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
How scary is that?
Yeah, the ones that are saying that's scary, they're the ones doing it. Bro, you see, like, rules for thee, not for me. That's insane. Once
How
again.
scary is that? This one, not to offend anybody, regardless of what you believe in religion wise, just it's something that people gotta like, maybe just, I don't know, get the idea of what it is. There's a lot of atheists out there, and they will point out this point. So just watch this video real quick.
People get essayed and unalived every single day, and
If God is so good, why is there so much evil in this world?
If there is warmth, why is there cold? If there is light, why is there darkness? Cold is merely the absence of warmth, and dark merely the absence of light. Evil is merely the absence of God. We just sometimes forget to turn on the light.
But I thought God is everywhere, omnipresent. Isn't that what you guys teach?
He can be, if you let him. Not because he needs your permission, but because he loves you and he's given you free will, the ability to choose. Not forcing you to be some slave to worship him, but to choose him. And if you reject him, he will respect your rejection and go away. But he gives you opportunities every day to do good. But if you reject him finally, he will separate himself from you eternally. That's what we call hell. Away from all the good and all the evil in one place, where everything that you just complained about will be multiplied.
And that's like an argument a lot of people will go on, you know, like, if God exists, why does evil exist? Why does this happen? Why did that happen? And it's like,
because both forces are at play, good and bad.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're both fighting for influence. Yeah. Let's do one more, bro.
One more? Shit.
He also loves his reaction clip.
Shit, I love doing this shit. This shit is fun. All right.
Just your favorite. One more of your favorite.
Let's do this one.
This guy said one more of your
Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess. And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty goddamn magic, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven.
Yes, sir, Skeet. Oh, that's it.
A lot of truth in that. Right there.
A lot of truth in that, bro. Oh,
all
that
right,
was a great episode.
Everybody.
To our 3 viewers.
Thank you.
Yes.
How many viewers?
We got 3 right now. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in.
There you go.
And appreciate everybody who's gonna tune in after the video's edited on all our channels. Follow on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Soon also gonna have other platforms running. And appreciate all of you guys once again for tuning in. This concludes our episode number 3. Street Interviews episode 1 is gonna be coming out soon. We're also gonna have a link and in the description and probably in our edits, follow our personal accounts as well. And guys, if you enjoyed or didn't enjoy the podcast, let us know. We will take in your feedback. And once again, thank you.
Ciao.
Later.
Laters.